Hello everyone, I'm Matt Harris. For those who might not have seen the blurb, just a quick introduction. I'm essentially a video producer of over 20 years now, working mainly in corporate and commercial. And I'm also an educator. I've worked in and out of various schools and universities over the years, teaching on the subject of film, media, and video production. And I'm now also a production coach, which means I support teams as they create and make their own videos and media. I still make productions, and I also do a lot of training just for anyone out there who might be interested in the services I provide clients. Today's talk is called AI as AP, How Artificial Intelligence Can Become Your Assistant in Video Production. Preparing this has been a journey of discovery. Somewhere in the middle of my research for this talk, the title changed to Can Artificial Intelligence Become Your Assistant in Video Production? But now it's gone back to how, thankfully. I think there is a lot of applications that can be used in order to assist essentially individuals and marketing teams while making their first steps into video production with AI. Or if you are a traditional supplier like me, you might want to make a suggestion to a client on how you could use AI platforms to help in their workflow when producing media with a supplier. Before we begin today's presentation, I do have to give a quick special thanks to two colleagues, Anastasia and Yok, both of whom did a considerable amount of research, which has actually contributed significantly to today's presentation. So thank you very much to them. The information and knowledge here was a team effort. The objectives for today's presentation are to give a brief historical overview of the developments in AI, because the perception is it's only just popped up in terms of video and the creative arts, but in truth, it's been around for a while, and we'll have a quick look at that. To share my experience of using AI recently in producing a piece of creative video media, to assess the time, cost, and creative outcomes of this experience, because I think those are probably the largest factors to consider for anyone. If you're a production supplier or if you're a marketing manager, it is the time, costs, and the creativity that need to be assessed initially. To provide feedback as to where and how AI can assist in this workflow and in producing video media, I hope after today's talk you'll come out with some ideas and some inspirations. And as we go along, I would ask if you could put in the chat any thoughts on the media we watch, because I think qualitative feedback is always really important. Here's our historical overview, and I'm not going to go into too much depth. You can map back the creative application of AI to early machine learning days with Alan Turing, and that has continued through the years. I think since its conception in the middle of the 20th century, there has always been this fascination of art and technology merging, and technology being able to become the creator eventually. What I think is interesting, as we get to 2011, we see Apple introduces Siri, and I thought that feels like yesterday. Of course, we are now over a decade beyond Siri, and AI has significantly improved and done some phenomenal things. In 2016, AI wrote a screenplay that was produced into a short film. Music generators started to appear. Back then, I was using a generator by a Cambridge startup called Juke Deck, and even then it was very good at creating bedding tracks for marketing videos. In 2017, we're seeing the arrival of deep faking. For anyone who doesn't know that term or hasn't seen it in the media, it's when AI can be used to generate an image of someone within a fictitious or alternative scenario. There's a lot of conversation being had around that and the legal ramifications of its misuse. Again, we will touch on this later with audio cloning. As we move up and beyond 2020, we start to see the arrival of ChatGPT, which probably doesn't need much of an introduction. We're going to talk a lot more about ChatGPT in a bit. But what I wanted to demonstrate with these slides is this has been a long journey for AI, much longer than we possibly think. It hasn't just popped up in the last couple of years. Now, for me personally, realizing that visual AI was becoming something of a mainstream application happened last summer. Wes Anderson, the Hollywood auteur of films such as Grand Budapest Hotel, was releasing his latest film, Asteroid City. As a director, he has an extremely specific visual style, and his trailers share a similar look and feel to them. A creator on YouTube called Curious Refuge produced a hybrid trailer called The Galactic Menagerie, which blended Wes Anderson's visual style with the popular genre film franchise Star Wars. You can watch the results here. When I first watched that, I did think, wow, I thought this was a pretty impressive blend of images, which did look exactly like a Wes Anderson film and did manage to capture very much the style and designs of the George Lucas movies, combining them into this very quirky, very otherworldly trailer. It was at this point I really started to get interested in the visual potential of AI. I've also always been interested in making effects and being experimental with video. I do enjoy it. And just before Christmas, I started working on some special effects. This was basically a camera microscope Final Cut Pro while mixing some home ingredients and oils in a petri dish. And this was the result. This is not AI. Once I made this, my colleague Anastasia watched and enjoyed it. I was feeling very pleased with myself. I really liked the images also. Anastasia decided that she would work with an AI image generator and see if she could create something similar just for fun. During this process, she used DALL-E to create the images, Runway to add motion, and InShot to assemble them, and Ava to create the soundtrack. And this was AI's hi-fi sci-fi created by Anastasia. So there you have it. I have to admit, I really like those images and thought some of them look fantastic. This video didn't take anywhere near as long as it did for me to sit behind a microscope and mess around with Petri dishes. Do please leave comments at this point telling us what you think of these two videos. I'd be really interested to know your thoughts on comparing the two pieces. Which do you think are more successful at achieving the goal, or whether or not you think they're sort of equal in their impact? From here, and knowing that I had to give this talk, I decided to create an experiment by writing a fictitious client brief so I could demonstrate to you what was capable in the hands of an experienced human producer with a 10-hour limit, and what could be created using AI in 3 hours. So just to repeat that, I decided to produce two versions of the same made-up brief. One was human produced by myself in 10 hours, and AI produced the second version in around 3 hours. I wanted to see how the videos differ in both results and process. But first, let's just talk about the brief. I came up with a fictitious client called Send, the Stamp Enthusiast National Delegation, and they wanted a short video which focused on the Centenary stamp collection of Winston Churchill, as it's 150 years since Churchill's birth. I thought this was good because you've got an industry, if you like, and a hobbyist angle in following stamps that's blended with the popular interest in Churchill historically. In this case, there should be a lot of resources for myself and AI to draw on in the process and make it more of a challenge. The idea is to make a short video of up to 90 seconds in length, include all 4 stamps of the Churchill's Centenary series. Use a variety of shots, provide an overview to the stamps with a voiceover, include a soundtrack and a client logo watermark. The video could also include details about the presentation pack, have a title card and subtitles. The video would need to be light, celebratory, clean in tone. It would be used on the client's website and social media channels. The audience would be wide-ranging, 18 to 65 plus, and that they would hope to reach audiences around the world. It was a very broad brief in that regard, and there is obviously a very tight time schedule. I'm now going to take you through my process very quickly as the practical human producer, how I created my video step by step, pre-production, production, and finally post. I managed pre-production in 4 hours, and that included all my research, my scripting, my shot listing, which I didn't type, I sketched out. I didn't do a storyboard because I had confidence in my shot list and what I was visualizing in my mind. My schedule I wrote out and compartmentalized into the hours I had to spend on the three main stages of pre-production, production, post-production. When it came to the production, I shot it here at my home office using my equipment. I didn't use the full array of equipment I have available because I knew for practical reasons I had to shoot fast. I used a small 4K capable DSLR along with a selection of lenses, small tripod with no rigging. You can see in the pictures here that I didn't use professional lighting. I just created a quick and easy light setup. You can also see my various props at different stages of my video making. In post-production, I use Final Cut Pro, and you can see here that the process was 3 hours long. I logged the footage, assembled the edit, that means just put it together roughly, recorded my voiceover to go over it from the script, and then went back into the edit with the recorded voiceover to polish it. I then exported it as a master file for the client to review. You can see here on the screen grab the layering there. The music soundtrack, which I got from a musical library, is at the bottom. My voiceover from the script in between that, the second layer. The third layer is shot imagery. The fourth layer is just some graphics and some further B-roll. That's supplementary imagery that complements the A-roll. The watermark along the top there is the client's logo. And altogether, the three stages combined took more or less 10 hours. So here is the human result for your consideration.
In 1974, Royal Mail published 4 stamps to commemorate 100 years since the birth of the Right Honourable Sir Winston Churchill. Possibly considered Britain's greatest statesman, the stamp series was carefully produced using designs by Collis Clements MSIA and Edward Hughes MSIA. The final stamps were showcased in a stylish presentation pack. In his early adult years, Churchill served as a soldier and correspondent during the Second Boer War. It was after the First World War that Churchill was made the Secretary of State for Air and War. Perhaps Churchill is most famously remembered for leading the country during the Second World War against Hitler and the Nazi Party. During this time, he became one of the world's most iconic figures in the resistance and the fight against fascism. Churchill had a long attachment to the British Royal Navy and had a love for nautical endeavours. Here you can see him wearing his Royal Yacht Squadron's uniform. This particular series of stamps, produced by Royal Mail in 1974, captures perfectly the look and feel of Britain's most influential and much admired leader.
So that's my 10-hour short promotional video on the Centenary stamp collection of Winston Churchill for release this year. Okay, let's move on to AIs Attempt then. During pre-production, knowing that I had a short amount of time, I used ChatGPT 3.5 and Storyboard Hero. Let's start with ChatGPT, which probably needs very little introduction at this point. Here on the left-hand side of the slide, you can see all the things that I came up with, having used it for tasks in the very early stages of producing video. It's actually very useful at producing documents at a very fast pace and quality. This list shows you how you might use it to assist you in the pre-production process when planning a video project. I know that some of these items don't always fit the actual brief that I'm talking about, but I think it's important to flag other uses like writing your interview questions, doing your research support, brainstorming, and doing language translations. ChatGPT 3.5 was an incredibly beneficial and supportive AI software for supporting a great deal of the pre-production process. The script that it produced doesn't quite compare to the one that I produced. It didn't actually format it in the professional style. It may have if my prompt skills had been better. What do I mean by prompt skills? This term covers the descriptions you type into AI. When AI prompts you for a command, your skill at being able to describe what you require to AI can be measured in what it produces as a result. The better skills you develop in the command process of AI, the better the outcome AI is able to provide you. The AI script was produced directly from the brief. I just fed it into the ChatGPT thread, and this was the outcome. As it stands, it's a good script for general purpose. It's fairly sound with a bit of editing. Interestingly, AI also titled its video Celebrating Churchill's Centenary, which is not too far from the one that I created. Now, for Storyboard Hero, this was a piece of software that I liked a lot and thought it was very good in fast delivery. It comes as a 7-day free trial and then $19 a month after that. So really, you should be looking at this as something for a longer term investment. And particularly if you are producing a lot of video content. Storyboard Hero produced some really good storyboards. It was incredibly easy to use, and I really liked the interfacing. If we look here, this is its concept and script. So it doesn't look like a professionally formatted script, but it's beautifully compartmentalized and broken down. Thought this was great. Now, here is the static storyboard the AI was able to produce. Now, the images are not perfect, but I was thinking it's actually a really good general depiction of what you need. For example, if you haven't done a lot of video before in the past, this could certainly help the visualization process. What kind of composition, what kind of framing are you looking for? So you could chop and change and edit these as you went along. From the storyboard, the AI was able to create a moving media file for your consideration.
Half a century ago, a special collection graced our letters, stamps commemorating one of the most formidable leaders of our time, Sir Winston Churchill. Descriptions of each stamp's depiction, sprinkled with Churchill's notable achievements and quotes. These stamps are markers in time, testaments to a legacy that endures.
When I was watching this, I thought how useful this would be if I needed to quickly whip up a set of ideas to show my client, like preliminary artwork. Or if a client had this, they could essentially tinker with it for a couple of hours and produce maybe 3 versions, 3 scripts, 3 visualizations, then present them to me as the supplier, because then it gives the supplier a really clear idea of where they need to go and what they need to build on. I really liked this as an option. So moving on to production, I use a combination of apps, Synthesia, DALL-E, and Runway ML. Now, the reason why I included Synthesia in this presentation is because it uses AI avatars, generated avatars. I was keen to explore the idea of what an AI-generated avatar could do and look like, because I think it's going to become much more common within video practices, particularly within commercial video production. It is likely to be seen as a cheaper, faster, and more convenient approach. I wanted to see what kind of quality level these avatars were operating at. I didn't spend too long on this because it doesn't fall within the brief, but I thought it would be great to share it with you guys and discover what the AI script would look and sound like coming from an AI-generated avatar. With this particular application, they do have a tiered subscription model, which is not uncommon these days, and I wasn't going to pay the full amount, so I did what I could on the free version. The free version did have limited avatars, but if you pay more, you get more avatars, of course. The young gentleman you see here was going for free, so I gave him the script, and this is what it looked and sounded like.
In 1974, the Royal Mail released a timeless stamp series, commemorating Sir Winston Churchill's centenary. This year, as we celebrate 150 years since the birth of Sir Winston Churchill, we proudly revisit these historic stamps. 4 distinct depictions of Churchill, each capturing his legacy and spirit. Explore the presentation pack, accompanied by insightful written blurbs, revealing the significance of these stamps. Join us in this celebration of Churchill's life and legacy, through the art of philately. Discover the details of these iconic stamps and their place in philatelic history. As we commemorate Churchill, we also appreciate the diversity of the stamp world. Join us in celebrating this historic milestone with the Royal Mail's Churchill Centenary stamps. Visit our website and follow us on social media to stay connected with the world of philately.
That was a little sample. That is AI-generated words coming out of an AI-generated avatar. And I would be very interested to know in the chat what you think, whether or not you feel at this stage it could connect better with a viewer than a regular human presenter. Please feel free to message in the chat. The next app we used was DALL-E. Now this comes in at $20 a month and is an image generator attached to ChatGPT, and you can customize your visuals by writing clear description when prompted by the machine. DALL-E created these 8 images you see on the slide for use in its video. One thing I have noticed with using AI is there seems to be a problem with spelling. However, putting that aside, some of these images are actually pretty good. I do like some of them. I particularly like scene 7. But there is something about AI-generated imagery which is sort of uncanny. And what I mean by uncanny is that it has this strange, weird, otherworldly and caricatured look about it. but from a heightened dynamic perspective, they're quite good. I am sure it will improve in time, as will the human interaction, like I said about developing prompt skills. But at the moment, with having to move fast and having to use it as a very practical pickup tool, this is what it was able to generate. Then I used Runway ML, like Anastasia did before with the planets, to create the motion with the still images of Churchill. Runway ML is a free downloadable app. It does have some in-app purchasing stuff, but generally speaking, it's got these great little toggle functions to help you animate movement within the still frame. It's very intuitive and very easy to use. Moving on to post-production, I had to bolt these moving images together as well as add in the voiceover. I used 11 Labs to create the voiceover, AIVA to create the music, InShot to bind them together, and then Veed Captions to create subtitling. I really wanted to look at subtitling because it's something that is incredibly time consuming. And the idea that a machine is going to be able to do that much more accurately and at greater speed is appealing. But let's have a look first at the voiceover. 11 Labs produces high quality AI voice generation, customizable voice options, a wide range of voice styles and accents, and it also has voice cloning capabilities. Cloning means you're able to take a pre-recorded voice sample, feed it into the AI along with your written script, and have the machine produce your own words using someone else's voice. Obviously, you have to be very careful when using this and also very responsible. You have to make sure that whatever voice you are cloning, you have all the necessary rights and permissions to use it, and that you intend to reproduce it without causing any criminal outcomes. It is something you do need to approach with some caution and careful thinking. With that said, and in the interest of education, I did pay the additional subscription fee to have a go on the cloning features. 11 Labs is actually free for the first 10,000 characters. That means you can feed 10,000 characters into the description box and it will churn out that many characters of voiceover for you. Then, once you run out of that 10,000 words, you have to wait for the following month for it to replenish. If you pay a little more, you get 30,000 words and you can do the voice cloning. You can't do voice cloning on the free version. I took a speech that was in the public domain of Winston Churchill's, fed it into the AI, and then got the cloned version of Churchill to read out the AI script. This is the voice of Winston Churchill narrating a film about his Centenary stamps.
Did you know that 50 years ago, the Royal Mail released a timeless stamp series commemorating my centenary? I proudly revisit these historic stamps in this short video.
Interesting, I'm sure you'll agree. Please do not forget to tell me what you think in the chat. Now on to music. I used AIVA to help with this. As I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, I have been using music generators for a number of years now, as far back as 2016. My experience of them has been fairly good and positive. They can provide a quick and easy route in making a track of music, which fits the length and tone of your video. As with all things AI at the moment, I'm not sure music generators can do the job of a human composer completely, but they do demonstrate capability in making low-budget, accessible music. I used InShot to bind all the AI assets together. This process was mainly a manual editing experience, but you can see here on the slide, it has a number of AI features such as automated background removal, object recognition, and video stabilization. Additionally, we used Veed Captions to create subtitles for the video. Subtitling is an essential part of making content accessible to a wider audience. Veed Captions provided an automated solution to generate accurate subtitles, saving time and effort. Finally, we reached the AI result. After 3 hours of input, development, and compilation, the video culminated in the following narration. While I do the roundup, don't forget to tell us what you think in the chat.
In 1974, the Royal Mail released a timeless stamp series commemorating Sir Winston Churchill's centenary. This year, as we celebrate 150 years since the birth of Sir Winston Churchill, we proudly revisit these historic stamps. 4 distinct depictions of Churchill, each capturing his legacy and spirit. Explore the presentation pack, accompanied by insightful written blurbs revealing the significance of these stamps. Join us in this celebration of Churchill's life and legacy through the art of philately. Discover the details of these iconic stamps and their place in philatelic history. As we commemorate Churchill, we also appreciate the diversity of the stamp world. Join us in celebrating this historic milestone with the Royal Mail's Churchill Centenary stamps. Visit our website and follow us on social media to stay connected with the world of philately.
In terms of comparison, the human time investment amounted to 10 hours, whereas AI required 3 hours. However, it's important to note that the AI timeframe does not encompass the surrounding elements, including refining prompt skills and determining what inputs were needed. Therefore, AI did in practice consume more time than the initial 3 hours due to trial and error in prompt refinement. In terms of financial costs, considering labor, equipment rental, and prop purchases, the human approach would have incurred approximately £800 in expenses. While AI is not entirely cost-free, it is certainly cost-efficient, primarily involving the investment of time. In AI, the key factor is how much time one is willing to dedicate to refining prompt skills and exploring subscription models for software applications to enhance productivity. Creativity remains a subjective aspect in the comparison between human and AI. From my assessment, human creativity is notably consistent, drawing upon years of experience to predict timelines and outcomes with confidence. AI, on the other hand, exhibits variability, but this is expected to improve as AI technologies continue to evolve and become more sophisticated. When it comes to creativity, there's a clear distinction between the real world and what I often refer to as the uncanny, a realm that feels somewhat transcendental. Much of what I've observed AI generated tends to possess a particular quirkiness or style. As a video practitioner, rather than an AI expert, I would offer some recommendations for those considering incorporating AI into their work with either video freelancers and clients want to produce video. First and foremost, careful planning is crucial. It's essential to thoroughly research the available tools, pay models, and the associated costs required to achieve the desired results. Instead of impulsively diving into AI, invest time in learning prompt skills and become proficient in crafting prompts that yield the desired output. AI can be particularly valuable in pre-production stages. Collaborate with clients in the early phases to exchange ideas and leverage AI for research, idea creation, conceptualization, story development, storyboarding, and scripting. It's a powerful tool for enhancing these aspects of the creative process. Additionally, AI can significantly benefit post-production tasks. Notably, it seems good in areas such as subtitling, music composition, and voiceovers, where it offers clear time-saving advantages. While AI's role in image generation may not align with my preferences due to my background, it's worth exploring for shorter video clips and generating quirky content. For longer, more detailed videos, AI might require much more effort and not reflect the necessary quality a human producer could craft. Consider a blended approach that combines human and AI elements. For instance, collaborate with a photographer to create imagery and then enhance it with AI-generated voiceovers or other elements. It need not be an exclusive reliance on one technology. A synergy between human creativity and AI capabilities could yield impressive results. I decided to give this a go by blending my version of the video with incorporating an AI voiceover and music, and found it to be quite effective. I would also strongly recommend regularly monitoring developments in the field and pay attention to practical applications and advancements in AI technology, which seem to be on a fast and upward trajectory. I do hope you have found this insight to AI and video production useful. Feel free to contact me at mattblablahmedia.co.uk, or you can find me on LinkedIn. This webinar's audio was an AI cloned version of my own voice. I hope you enjoyed listening to me today. Thank you very much and goodbye.